Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brent and Malcolm Show. I'm Brent Hazard. As always, Malcolm Johnson's out on the campaign trail, campaigning for District 5 supervisor. Please keep him in your thoughts when you go to the polls on August 8th. But sitting in, I had to go to the bullpen, and I have pulled the legendary Socrates Garrett. Mr. Garrett, welcome back to the show.
It's always good to be on with you, Brent.
Man, you always start off with a lie, but that's fine.
Well, it's always good in my mind.
Have you won? That's not what you say off the show.
Well, that's off the show.
Oh, okay. But anyway,
on the show,
it's always good. It's always good.
Right.
Did you win an award recently?
I did.
For what?
Champion of Justice.
What?
Yeah, Champion of Justice. Dr. Henderson and I both were.
Champions of Justice.
Yeah, Champions of Justice, Brent.
Who gave this award out, and when did you receive it?
And how
do you champion justice?
It was actually Saturday night. It was the name of the event. Their show. It was at a play. And that
was it the reparation play?
No, it was Justice on Trial.
Yeah, the reparation play.
Okay, and during the intermission on that, they gave out some awards to some distinguished individuals that had contributed to making this place a better place.
And you won one.
Not one, but my life exemplified what they were talking about. And so I was given the award along with about 18 other people.
That's not really winning if you're one of 18.
It was, for me, it was all I needed, Brent, was just validation that my work.
Oh, I've got personal validation. That explains here the gap between us. Okay. You need other people to. Oh, I'll tell you what.
Oh, you don't.
I'll give you applause if you need it.
Other people, Brent.
I hate people.
You some kind of eunuch or something?
I hate people, Socrates. I literally hate all people. Black, white, green, yellow. I'd rather be sat out with plants sometimes, because you know why?
No,
plants aren't going to disappoint. Okay, I'll tell you a quick story, okay?
Go ahead.
And I won't.
Go ahead.
I have told myself I'm not going to mention the establishment. You've been there, though. You've been there with me. Friday, I had a big hearing. It got a little nasty. Federal court for the Judge Reeves. So I was going to meet someone to watch the basketball game, which you and I've done before. And we sit down at this establishment I've been going to about 2 years. And the waitress comes over. Now she's about, in my opinion, when I sit down, I like the drink order. You know, I like to get waited on. And I notice generationally that and my dad said it about me. I'm sure I'll let you comment. The girl was a little late. Not majorly late. We're there to watch the NBA game. We're going to be there 3 hours. So, but, you know, I'd like to have a little water in my hand, a little tea, something, a little chips. But she goes, how are you doing? Now, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. Miserable, right? She goes, really? Why? I said, I've been waiting 15 minutes on my drink. And she said, have you? And I said, no. But I understand crystal meth takes a long time. That's a funny lie. Wow. She said, do you think I'm on crystal meth? I looked at her and said, no. Sincerely, we just got here. We're waiting on the game. Take your time. It was a joke. Don't spit in our food. Wow. And she was, well, I'm not done. I'm nowhere near done yet. I'm nowhere near done yet. Okay, nowhere near done. Next thing you know, the manager comes over. And I'm like, yes. She goes, are you mistreating our waitresses? And I said, what? She goes, what was said? And I told her what was said. And she goes, you haven't been sitting here 15 minutes. I said, hence the joke. It was humor followed by, take your time. We don't think you're on crystal meth. It was just a joke. She goes on, and I said, ma'am, I've been coming here 2 years. She goes, I know. And I go, have you ever received a complaint about me? No. But that's not relevant. Now, I almost go into lawyer mode. But then I said, no, that is relevant because maybe it's the new waitress. That's a little oversensitive. But I've already apologized. I said, no one thinks you're on crystal meth. It's a joke. you're not going to mistreat my wait staff. And I'm just sitting there looking at her. And well, an associate of mine, he was not a friend, I'll get to that in a moment. An associate of mine started talking to her, and I said, so my 2 years of coming here, that doesn't qualify or gather me any merit. Her response was, well, I didn't know you've been abusing waitresses for 2 years. And I said, and you can tell that by all the non-complaints about me. Now, and I tip well because I know there's a camping fee. When you go watch a game and you're sitting there drinking Cokes or whatever for hours, you're taking up a seat. So you have to tip for that. I literally have waitresses or waiters fight over me because I tip well. And also they might be on a jury one day. So I'm sitting there. She just stops talking to me and starts talking to my associate. And I said, ma'am, if you don't want my service, great. Stood up. I'd ordered chips and salsa and tea. I had about probably $10 or $11 tab. Left 20. I looked at my guy. We going? He doesn't look at me. And I'm like, life's too short. The 25-year-old Brent would have cussed his ass out right then. Because, whoa, you owe me some money, partner. We going or not? Because I don't have, I have like 4 friends in the world, but I do believe you should buy loyalty on some levels. With that said, he stays there, and this moron texts me today, said the management has invited us back to watch the game tonight.
You going?
No, I'm done, Socrates. I'm too old to be throwing things at people. If you don't think 2 years of my business is worth taking at least an objective point of view, was it a funny? I mean, now I have to go ahead and tell you this. One of my boys, I was telling about at the Bulldog, I'll mention that fine establishment. We watched the game over there. He said, hell, Hazard, if the waitress had been on crystal meth, you'd been dated her. I've got a type. But anyway, so with all that said, I'd rather just people not bother me and then deal with idiots. Your response to any of that?
Well, first of all, you don't have to apologize for something you did not say.
Well, I said crystal meth takes a long time.
My point is, had you not said anything, you wouldn't have to apologize.
I'm glad Socrates Garrett has given me social lessons.
Well, I'm just trying to keep you from being thrown out.
Whoa, I was not thrown out.
Well, you were on the verge of being thrown out.
I left. Now ain't nobody gonna throw me out. I'll leave before someone throws me out.
Why can't you be thrown out?
I leave before it gets to that level.
Well,
I don't escalate to that level. It was nowhere near close. I tipped $8 on a $12 I'm assuming tab.
You insulted the wrong waitress. Everybody didn't see the humor in your statement. And so obviously she went to her manager who in dire straits. Explaining to her dire straits how you had crushed her and accused her of being a crackhead, and so all of those things led to a distraught person.
Me verbally abusing people.
And Brent, you could be sued for that.
You're just making crap up. No, I couldn't be sued for that. There's no tort for that. See, where's your trophy or champion of justice? I want it given back. How much did you have to pay for that trophy? Because, you could be a super lawyer if you pay enough for it. You could be a champion of justice for $10,000.
I'm glad you enjoyed the game at another establishment. So, at least
you're not answering the questions at all. I feel like I'm talking to the manager.
I don't think that I would have ever said that to a waitress. I would have said something totally different. Had she been tardy getting to my table with me, I would have said something different. Like, you're having a really bad time, you're really having a hard day, things have not been going good for you, have they?
You're so full of crap. Socrates Garrett has never said that to anybody whatsoever.
I'm saying it on the show today.
In the world, is this Socrates? Is Socrates fake Socrates? What I'm saying is, and here's the bad thing about it is, I've told that to 3 or 4 waitresses after the fact. One young waitress was like, well, that's a little touchy. And I was like, yeah, another generational issue. 2 or 3 people in their 40s, you got any, Crystal? I was like, damn. And I was like, see, and I do believe it's generational, but let me clarify this. It's not my job to cause anybody else any issues, but I like to show. I like a little give and take. Now, if you don't want to give and take, that's fine. Change the channel, move on. But I mean, hey, the world's a tough place, and I've got to be tough.
Yeah,
to quote Raymond Hazard.
You like to scrap a little bit. You always starting things, and you happen to have been blessed with size. So many people that who by all measures would have jumped on you by now have to think twice about it.
Hell no.
And other than that, if you and I were the same size, I would beat you down a lot of times, just on general principle.
I would have, you know what it would have said? White man kills black man, hate crime in 2023. That's how that story ends right there. Moving on. Why I get text messages. But no, and let me say this, okay? I work for a firm that has a $5 million advertising budget.
Oh.
I do this show, I do WNPR, and I do Super Talk. I will never reveal that franchise because I don't want to go after. Now I was hot.
Oh, I think I know the place, Brent. I think you and I had a beer or two.
We've had several. And I don't drink beer.
Okay, so I had a beer.
Yeah, you had a beer, but we have dined there. We've dined at a couple other places.
Right. So
and to watch games.
Verified establishment.
But and then once again, I don't hold any grudges.
Yeah.
You just won't go back there. And hey, when we're done,
it's called redemption.
When we're done,
you can.
I tell you what, I'll go to every.
It's not that you ought to be done because of that little incident that you just described.
Cousin, cousin. Let me tell you. Okay, let me ask you this: wise one, champion of justice. Do you have like a costume you put on and say, "Champion of justice"? Did it come with a costume?
No, I wear it every day.
Every day.
When I get up in the morning.
Underoos. You put your underoos on.
Every day, man.
I'm a champion of justice.
I'm a champion of justice every day.
I don't see you in court when I'm there. I was there Friday. I think I was there
all
Thursday.
All champions are not in court, Brent.
You sure?
Yeah.
I think that's where
we all have
is.
We have lanes that we work in. Justice is not found inside of the courtroom.
Is you getting a big contract? Is that justice?
It could be. It could be justice, and it probably is a fact that I've not gotten enough big contracts over these years that I've been.
You sure the trophy didn't say narcissist? Champion of narcissism?
No, it didn't say that at all.
Didn't say that? Okay, sincerely, okay, let me ask you this. This is one of the quotes I hate or sayings I hate. You can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
I hate that saying because I can tell you right now, from the cover, I can tell you if someone's checked that book out. I can tell you if someone's read that book. I can tell you if it's been used. I can tell you how big that book is. I can tell you if it's 2 pages. I can tell you if someone's gone through it, that book's been handled 1,000 times. Or if it's brand new, you can check a lot out because what people say, that was me slapping that person, or that was me doing that, or doing it, but that wasn't me. The hell it wasn't. We are the good and the bad. And I believe in 60 seconds, so that microcosm is who you are. Now, you might be you in a bad day. Mm-hmm. We all have bad days. Mm-hmm. Might be you in a good day. Mm-hmm. We all have good days. It might be you in whatever day it is, but it's you. These idiots that get up there, that wasn't me cheating on my wife. The hell it wasn't. Yes, it wasn't me stealing. The hell it wasn't.
That was a bad day.
That was a bad day. A moment of weakness. And we all have moments of weakness, but that was you, brother. Own it up, accept it. And like I said,
nobody owns up to things, Brent.
I literally left an $8 tip on someone who was insulting me, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that says about you. You reward those that insult you.
I was like, look, miscommunication. We all can have miscommunications. My job is not to cause you any grief. Mm-hmm. Instead of sitting here trying to argue my point. And one of the things that kills me, when I say I've been coming there for 2 years and you say that doesn't mean anything, then I need to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, if I've been using you 2 years and something happened, you built a house for me. Did you ever do residential?
No.
if you built
The
something,
homeowners make too many changes.
okay, but you built something for me and you did 10 great jobs for me, and something happened and a pipe broke over here on job 11, me not giving you credit for that 10 jobs is idiotic. But I mean,
It depends upon how much damage that pipe did.
I still believe you've earned a reputation, and that's what I'm saying. In today's society,
in the African American community,
gonna pull the race card. Hang on a second.
I don't mean. I don't think
you
this
just
is
pulled
race.
the.
I'm just talking about in the African American community.
And that's
I'm
race.
not comparing it.
What is African American class? I mean, explain that word to me.
Okay, that's the community where black folk.
Race. That's a race description.
No, it's not a race description.
Then what is it? Sex?
No, it's a community and rules that are governed that are different.
I know what race is, and I know you use it,
Well, what I'm
play
trying
the
to say
race
to you,
card.
what I'm trying to say to you,
crackers are different.
What I'm trying to say to you is that too often, the failure of one African American is carried. The burden is carried by all African Americans. And so that is something that's real in our community.
So Deion leaving Jackson State, was that carried by everybody? Because he got a raise.
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Just making sure.
He didn't fail.
I know that, but I'm just saying. Wait,
whoa.
I'm sorry. Did he win a championship at Jackson State? Did he win the Heritage Bowl?
He didn't win it.
Oh, that would be a
but
failure.
But he won the championship, the SWAC championship.
Okay, go ahead.
And he had 11-0 record, I believe, before he lost the game in the final game.
So did New England before they lost in the Super Bowl. But move on. Your point.
Yeah, my point is that we carry the burdens of the experiences and the successes and failures of other African Americans, which is totally different, I believe, in other ethnic groups.
Because you've been a member of these other ethnic groups.
No, I have not.
Because, when I think of Italians, I never think of the mob. Or when I think of Irish, I never think of drunks. Or when I think of Southern rednecks, I never think of inbreeding. There's no stereotypes of anybody else ever.
Brent, you're having a great show this evening. You know that, don't you?
I don't know what we're talking about here. But anyway, there's something I do want to talk about you, and there's something we're going to send the message about mistakes. Believe it or not, there was a plan there, which I'm going to try to get you some business.
Look out. Hallelujah.
Even though I'm not African American, we're going to be right back after this break.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at WeBelieve.Global.
We are back. It's the Brent Malcolm Show. I'm Brent Hazard. Socrates Garrett filling in for Malcolm Johnson. Like I said, Malcolm Johnson cannot wait to be your new supervisor, Supervisor 5. Keep him in mind, August 8th. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Socrates, do you know what, and truly, I don't know the answers to these questions. Barstool Sports, you know what that is?
No.
Okay, it was one of the first original podcasts that had blown up, and they cut a deal with ESPN, and it's sports talk, but because they were no names when they started off with, and podcasting, they could use profanity, they could keep it a little risque. They tried to do something with ESPN, and that blew up, but they just sold for $100 million.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
they've gotten... Deion Sanders has they were the podcast that was sponsoring Deion and some other ones. The reason I'm transitioning this in...
I'll check them out.
Okay. They had a gentleman on the show. They have one guy named Brandon Walker who's from Mississippi State. He was a local state... I think he had a Twitter and had a little column or radio show, and he got a deal up there.
So did Daryl Neely, I believe.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
And now they've gone into, it's more in sports now. They have, some porn stars on. It's what you call locker room talk, in my opinion. With that said, there was a guy named Ben.
Why would they have porn stars on?
Because it brings in that demographic who watches sports all day. I mean, it's not porn stars. There was a podcast called, God, I can't think of her name. It was two beautiful women who were kind of groupies of athletes, and they were talking about what it's like to be a woman, and then it got into sex, and then that they were top 10. One of them jumped ship for $100 million. It had its own drama, but it's basically for the college student, okay? And it's sports, TNA, they have women on there but I mean, when you hear the reason they left ESPN or their joint venture failed is because the female anchors felt there was a lot of that locker room 1980s content. But anyway, back to what I was saying. There was a guy named Ben Mintz, okay? He was from Ole Miss. Now, I don't know how he got up there, and I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of them. But they encourage, as I'm trying to do, and I've tried to get you, not only to do a show, but to have a social media presence. You have to promote. And they put Ben Mintz, and someone handed him a rap song, and he was reading it. And it said rap song. It had the N-word. He read the N-word and freaked out. He didn't know what to do. The president, Dave Portnoy, who I'm going to cut and clip this to, said, I want to keep him. You could tell it was an accident. You could tell he was horrified. But my new corporate bosses said, fire him. Now, to me, there's a situation where you're talking about second chances, talking about earned. Would you be interested if we could talk to Barstool about performing something where your voices could be heard? You and Bishop Crudup are the first two people who came to mind, where you could explain why that. Now, like I said, it's a little bit different because it wasn't like this guy was saying it. In my opinion, I think everybody agreed he just didn't know what he was reading like a teleprompter. But I saw an opportunity there because of our conversations and my conversations on WNPR and on this show of opening doors. Let's not be shocked by the world. Let's try to fix the 400 years of oppression. And if there's something where you could take a bad situation and let a young man learn and maybe get a second chance, but also benefits the African American community in Jackson, Mississippi by possibly giving We Believe more exposure, giving you more exposure, or having some. I don't know if they would have the courage to have these debates and conversations on that platform, but would you be interested in even entertaining that thought?
I would think it would be a wonderful opportunity for the exposure that We Believe could get out of that. So not only am I entertaining the thought, I'm asking you to pursue it aggressively.
Okay, now, and this is what, and you and I have not had this conversation, and this is one of the things, because let's be honest, everybody's afraid to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Half the white people think I'm going to start a race war, and they don't want the black people mad by talking about race. The other half think I'm the champion of the white power, which I'm not. Black people, half of them think I'm in the Klan, and the other half think I'm the coolest person in the world.
Damn, Brent. I mean,
oh no, it's there's no middle ground.
Wow.
There's no middle ground when you're having these conversations. But the point is, if we don't have these conversations and we don't sit there and challenge each other on them, we cannot find out what is the norm and when is someone being subjective, when is someone being objective. Back to me in my situation, if you're having a bad day, I don't have the right as one human being, even though I'm paying you as someone you're waiting on, to increase that bad day. There was no intent there. In the legal term, it's called mens rea. There was no. Now, if I kept on her, then yes, I should have been thrown out, I should have been reprimanded, I should have been banned. But everybody needs that first strike, and what's missing in our society, this cancel culture, is we're not giving people like John Gruden. John Gruden, we might need to clip this and send it to John. I would love John Gruden to come to Jackson, Mississippi and do something with the high school football programs and earn your way back. And I do believe the best way to address
I don't know how he made those mistakes in the culture that he was in.
I do.
How then?
Because that locker room talk where you don't understand ramifications of it, generational, and he thought he was private. And I would like to see if he had the courage to say it here to the people he worked with. I don't believe you can work with as many African Americans he worked with, but I do believe it would get. I don't want to defend him too much because of work. Well, give me your point of view of what I just said and what you know what the emails I'm talking about with John Gruden, correct? Give me your opinion. Does John Gruden need a second chance, or where's the line? I'm asking you.
Well, first of all, they were absolutely correct in firing him.
Okay, I don't disagree on that.
Okay, and secondly, I don't know how an individual who works that closely with African Americans,
that is a huge question,
can even have those thoughts. And how if he had those, how he had not gotten over it and got rid of those thoughts in order for him to improve himself as a person and to have his career be very meaningful to other people. So I don't get that. So I think they should have fired him, and I don't think they should let him come back.
Would you work with John Gruden and try to teach him that point of view?
I would work with John if he was in fact trying to help me build We Believe Digital. Then I can say, okay, maybe there's some value here. But in terms of me working with him to try to improve him as an individual, I have no interest in that.
Well, what about him trying to improve Jackson public school football programs? Because to be quite honest, I don't know what he could bring to a podcast, so to speak, but we know he coaches football. And to me, is there a system, whether it's in the Delta, where there's majority African American schools, where these people who have made racist statements on purpose, is there a program, since we're last, where we can give second chance whatever it is?
No.
Gonna have to have a financial component, gonna have to have maybe a tech component, and is going to have to, I do believe, and maybe I'm being naive, one of the advantages we have in Mississippi is we're around each other. We get to have these interactions. And to sit there and say, those words, I don't know, I mean, you're right, he was around African Americans constantly. But what I'm saying is,
at the highest level, I mean,
correct,
where he had seen and witnessed the achievements and the contributions that African Americans were making. So at the highest level, it's not like he was some parole guy that's in charge of your probation down in Rankin County. He was at the highest level, and we expect so much more from people in that position. I'll give you this little story right here.
Go ahead.
And this goes way back to Bear Bryant.
Okay.
Okay, Alabama was all white.
Yeah.
But they had seen the attributes of African Americans in other teams.
I do believe they've lost a couple of games to African Americans.
Yes.
Yes.
So Bear recruited his first African American, but he said he didn't really want him on the team. He told everybody, his defensive line, he told everybody, let's stop him. I just gotta show that we tried. And so they gave him the football, and he ran for 85 yards and a touchdown. And they called it huddling. Bear told him, look, whatever y'all do, we're going to have to stop him. Now, he was using some choice words. And we gave him the ball again. He ran 55 yards for another touchdown. And so he came back to the huddle, and they told Bear Bryant, they said, Coach, we can't stop that black man. Bear said, I don't see no black man. I just see a football player. And so you grow to that point. Bear Bryant grew to that point. Even the governor of Alabama grew to that point. And so why?
Did he?
Oh, yeah, George Wallace.
Wallace.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. You know, it was late in his life, but he saw the light and saw the error of his ways.
Oh, okay. Well, let me stop. Well, finish your story. I don't want to interrupt you.
And so all I'm saying is that, you know, we now have to get beyond those stereotype prejudice that we carry in us, and there's no room for it anymore.
I'm not justifying.
Yeah.
So we're clear. I'm not defending him, because the way I got into this is, as you know, and we've talked about this, Batman follows me on WNPR.
Yeah.
And Batman's done some bad things. And the other day, talking about jokes, for those who do not know, and Batman and he was a friend that went to the Bulldog with me the other night. Batman we're trying to do a podcast somewhere together, but Batman walks in a room, and you know he's a man of serious intent. And you could see him. Hopefully he's reformed. Hopefully he's changed his ways. He's done his time. But you could see certain individuals walk in the room, and you're like, what are you going to do? Batman is not one of those individuals. So the other day we were running late on my show, and Batman was there. If you do not know, Batman is a guy that Frank Melton said ran the crime of Jackson. And, you know, it was reported 7 or 8 bodies were associated with him. But he went to jail for putting someone in a garbage can, a proposed witness. So he walked in the other day. I should not tell this. But I said on the air, I got to get out of here. I don't want to end up in a garbage can. And Batman laughed. But I was thinking, I'm going to get myself killed trying to make jokes. But my issue is this.
That's worse than crystal meth. But go ahead.
But my whole point is, in my mind, I don't believe we change. So let me say this. I don't believe John Gruden will change. I don't believe Mitts, I think, was just a mistake, but I don't believe a racist is going to change, okay? I don't believe humans change. But if I don't give people like Batman the opportunity to change, even though I doubt it's going to happen in the long run, and we could talk about social economics, we could talk about environment, we could talk about genetics, we can talk about all that. Where is the line? And I don't believe you can give second chances. I think second chances are earned. But one, being last, is there a money-making opportunity here for us to give second chances to people in Mississippi, whether it's a Britney Spears or whether it's I'm trying to think of people who've been canceled.
Yeah.
To me, once you get into the sexual assault and sexual rape, that's a different category. But, I don't see a way Jeffrey Epstein could have been redeemed.
How about Bill Cosby?
No. Well, you're talking.
You don't think he could be redeemed?
You're talking about rape. You're talking about 30 rapes the last time I seen. Maybe he could be redeemed with the good Lord. But what I'm saying is, to me, if you're talking about groping women, and this is, I think, this is one of the problems we have as society. I think Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, caught a bunch of hell for basically saying there's groping and there's rape, and we can't treat the same. They're not both right, but they're not equal. And to me,
they both fall under white privilege, though.
You're saying that black men have never raped somebody?
We've never gotten on the TV and said, as President Trump said, that I can rape them, I can grope them, I can grab them by their
Also, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby wasn't raping women where it was all well known. He was signing civil disagreement. That never happened. Bill Cosby only did like a year in jail for 30 rapes. None of that. I'm making that up. Michael Jackson never molested a kid. Michael Jackson never molested a kid.
It wasn't on the black privilege.
Michael Jackson. It was just he was just raping people to be raping.
Michael, you can't get on TV and say that you can do that. You can't run for president of the United States.
He paid a woman
and say that you can just grab them by their snatch.
Okay, first of all, nobody else, white or black, has ever been able to say that except Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Unless you can give me somebody. But two, and we're running out of time. The whole point. I can't believe you brought race into this component. But what I'm saying is, to me, the sexual assaults, I can't give a second chance to unless there's some criminal issues or some. That's just a line I'm not comfortable trying to rehab. But what I'm saying is, if it's verbal, if someone misquotes somebody or says the wrong word, I do believe we have to give those people a second chance, and having them meet you and get to know you. And I can't believe I'm saying this.
Go ahead.
I do believe it would be a healthy exercise for them to grow, to give them the opportunity to grow as individuals. I'm going to get your response to that. I know you're shocked I gave you a compliment. I am too. But with that said, our producer's shocked too. With that said, we're going to be back. I'm going to ask our producer to clip that so we can send it to Barstool to see if there's something there that we can start here. They can invest. In my mind, to finish this up, I would like to see Barstool donate technology to the poor schools, which would be the African American schools. I would like to see them maybe invest in some aspect of podcasting, whether it's through you or somebody else. And I would like to see, one of the things I do believe we have to do a better job of, I have personally talked to charities on the West Coast mostly, a couple of them, and they do not want to invest in black churches because of the religious factor, not because they're black. And I do believe they're being naive or ignorant of the political structure the black church played in the 60s and 70s when there was another institution. So these are opportunities I see for the state in total to use some of these situations to help us. But I want to get your final word for it when we come back after these commercials.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to the show. Brent has a Socrates Garrett. And I mean, like, okay, you probably have not kept up with this. The new Kane, the new villain of Marvel, it was a black gentleman. He also, and I don't know his name, I'll have to look it up. He played the villain in Creed, in the Creed boxing video. The number one PR firm in Hollywood, his white girlfriend, he's an African-American gentleman. Now, he's supposed to be the next villain in 6 Marvel movies. You know, all the Marvel superheroes are supposed to join to beat him at one point. So they made a major investment in him. He got arrested when his white girlfriend alleged domestic abuse. And then the number one PR firm in Hollywood, and this was a story or a quote I read, the people that clean up the cocaine users, you know, they're the ones who go in there and pay people off, and they dumped him. So I'm not comfortable going there with a domestic violence component, so unless it is like I wasn't really comfortable with Ole Miss hiring a coach that was arrested for domestic violence without hearing from his girlfriend, because that's a sign of domestic violence. But my whole point is, to me, words we can try to rehabilitate. Actions, that's, to me, of course, I say the same thing, but I'm debating whether to do a show with Batman. Your thoughts, your opinions before we move on.
Well, a couple of things. Before we went to break, you were talking about the role of the black church, and I just want to bring a little bit more clarity to that scenario. In the very beginning, the black church was not involved.
Okay.
One of the
and you're talking about civil rights?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things that whites allowed blacks to have was church. You couldn't read, but you can have church.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but theory was because they could emphasize that the slave would own the slave master.
Correct.
Okay. Just that's what my understanding is. But go ahead.
And then you get your reward
in heaven.
In heaven.
Yes.
And so churches didn't allow civil rights activists to have meetings in churches.
Okay.
My father couldn't have a meeting in the church in Farm Haven, Mississippi.
What year approximately?
1961, somewhere in there, 1955.
When you say 61, I mean, I know we can all do math. How long does that seem ago to you?
It's like yesterday.
Because if someone says 1985 to me, and I was like, that's 15, that's 20.
No.
That's 40. Okay.
Just yesterday.
So, and see, that's one of the things as I get older that I don't think you can experience when you're 20.
No.
That you wake up.
You're in a hurry when you're 20. You're in a serious rush, but you don't know where you're going.
I don't think I'm in a hurry. You think you have all of it. One, it's a natural phenomenon. When you're 2, a year is half your life. When you're 50, it's 1/50th.
Yeah.
And it's perception. But 2, I don't believe it's hard to tell a 20-year-old that you're going to wake up and you're like if someone says 1988, man, you remember 1984, that was, and you're like, that was 20 years ago. And you're like, no, that was 40 years ago. But go ahead.
So I don't want you to forget.
I'm not going to forget.
The seriousness of the issue and what was going on. When we had civil rights activists like Angela Davis and Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown and Malcolm, none of these were in the churches.
Okay. Where were the meetings?
Stokely, Carpenter, none of these were in churches.
Where were the meetings held?
In the community, in the streets, in the privately held properties.
Now, okay, you've been to the Civil Rights Museum, I know, right?
Yeah, I've gone through.
And there's a section. Okay, wait a minute. This might be a whole other show.
I don't need to go to the Civil
I understand that, but what I'm saying is there's a whole section dedicated to the black church. Am I incorrect?
Of course it would be.
Okay.
Of course it would be, but that is not the impetus of what happened in the early days of the civil rights struggle. This was a mean, brutal society.
Okay.
And no blacks had the courage that was in no suit and tie in front of the Bible in his hand to talk about that we need to kill Charlie. That sermon never got preached. That we need to burn down the plantation. That sermon never got preached.
But you would recognize there's a man named Dr. King that came from a church, right? You would recognize that.
He came from a church.
Okay.
And Martin was at the beginning of a new movement that did bring in the religious community more in the fold of civil rights activities. But if you recall from his letter from the Birmingham jail, he said, it is not the violence and the meanness of my white brothers, it's the appalling silence of black folk, black preachers, because they're not saying anything. They're not saying anything then, and quite frankly, they're not saying anything today. I go to New Horizons Church and follow Bishop Ronnie Kruger for 2 reasons. One, he's a God-fearing man, he's a spiritual man, but he knows there's a time to go to war. That this cannot be tolerated, that he will pick up the sword and go to battle, and will tell you that God is on our side. Now, you're not going to get that from not many preachers. Now, you've been on WMPR for a lifetime. You had a lot of preachers call in, maybe 2 or 3, on all of the shows you've done. But where are the rest of the preachers? What are they saying? Nothing. It's silence. So I don't want you to get it all twisted about the value of the church in the real movement in the black folks during the civil rights fight. It didn't begin there.
Okay, now to wrap this up, if you were designing the University of Redemption,
Yeah.
okay, for a John Gruden,
Yeah.
okay, financial component,
Yes.
okay, and I mean, obviously, and by the way, let me shout out our producer, Ariel. She was working for Barstool when they were here with Jackson State. We just found out during the break.
No, yeah.
So, interesting tidbit there. But if you were designing, if someone came here and said, I can't get any work, whether singer, songwriter, whatever, football coach, whatever, give me what you would have them do to earn that second. Because, I mean, if we're going to give people who go to jail second chances, and it could be a comedian, we could Google who's been canceled, but the names aren't coming up. Because some people are, they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle. That didn't happen. I'm trying to think. Ariel, give me some names who've been canceled.
Anybody?
It's anybody.
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown. Well, Chris Brown. Okay, Chris Brown was domestic violence.
Lane.
Who?
Tory Lane. The rapper.
Tory Lane. Okay, you're losing me with Tory Lanez. But Kevin Spacey. I mean, he was supposedly hitting on children. I have an issue with Kevin Spacey when you get into pedophilia, when you're getting into. And I mean, this is a conversation we need to have because it's easier for us just to say, you're evil, you're done, we're not going to do with you. Except if you turn that on examination upon us, would we pass? So how old are you officially?
76.
76. As a 76-year-old African American, what would you have John Gruden do to pay for his emails or his statements?
Well, I don't know what I would have him do, Brent. I know that, there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done in terms of making amends, being redeemed. There's a tremendous amount of work, so there's avenues that one can go about that. Now, in the Bible, it says that no rich man it's harder for a rich man to get to heaven than it is for a camel to go through an eye of a needle.
I know the scripture.
Okay, so it's hard.
Yet you still want contracts.
For John to get redemption. It's hard for what he has done. And so, he's going to have to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, now, okay,
I'm saying maybe he got to give away all his wealth. Maybe he's got to come down and spend a lot of time working out and start his own stew pot. And maybe he ought to spend some time there. Maybe he ought to be publicly advocating that blacks have been mistreated in this country for 400 years, and maybe he ought to say we need to fight for reparations and equal rights and Medicare expansion in Mississippi. There are a lot of issues that he could use his platform and be a sounding voice about all things that are wrong in America. And if he did that, not coming down here where nobody hears him and tell me he's working at Brinkley with the football team, but if he used his platform to really do good, then it's got to impact the masses, and we got to know it's real. So tell him to do that. Tell him to denounce all of the things that have gone on in America and apologize for that, and then work every day in the field of justice and equality for African Americans.
And see, I completely disagree with that because here's my point. One, I think half the problem we have as a society is John Gruden was a good football coach, wasn't a good politician, maybe a good speaker and a good announcer, give him that. But it doesn't mean he was intelligent, or it doesn't mean he should be commenting on social issues, nor would I want him to based on his emails. So I want him to do what he's good at, which is coach football. To me, I would love to see him come down here. One, got to have a check, and really try to advance the Jackson Public Schools, the Mississippi Delta's public schools, football programs, because that's what he's good at. I think that's what he's got success at. I don't want this idiot trying to run social economic structures because he's failed miserably at it. But what I'm saying is being around and helping people that he's good at doing something. If you've got an idiotic surgeon who's just a gift at cutting people open, but is can't do X, Y, and Z. I don't want him doing X, Y, and Z. I want him saving people in surgery. So yes, to me, there's going to be I hate to say a financial component because poor people make a mistake. Of course, I don't know if they've been canceled, but also there's got to be a way to come back where, and like I said, if I'm talking about doing something with Batman and you're talking about someone who's not been convicted or even arrested for domestic violence, I'm being a little hypocritical there. Because like I said, Batman's done some time.
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that America loves Batman. America loves criminals. America loves gangsters. America loves violence.
Well, I don't think America knows Batman, but Miss Jackson, the Jackson audience loves Batman. I can say that. I mean, Batman's a charismatic guy. But you're talking about Sopranos, Goodfellas, Godfather.
I'm trying to tell you, that's what we like in America. So those folk, that's what we made movies about. We made movies about.
But we romanticize them.
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
And so deep down inside, Batman is a hero to many.
An anti-hero. I can agree with an anti-hero.
Okay, so he doesn't need much redeeming. What he needs more than anything else is to spend his time working on those projects that are most meaningful to him, whether that's working with children or whether that is working on a radio station with you. He seems to be broadening his perspective. Now he's got a great white friend.
I agree with great. I don't know about the white friend. But
well, you are white, aren't you?
I'm white. I don't know if we're friends. We're associates. I got 3 divisions.
Oh, have you been?
I got 3 divisions.
Didn't you go out having
I've
a beer
got 3
together?
divisions, okay? Yeah. You can keep on yelling all you want. You've got people you know, just acquaintances, hey. You've got people you socialize, hence associates. Have a burger, have a drink, watch a game, and then you have friends. I'll call you at 2 a.m. and the Godfather test. There's a dead body in the car. Let's go. Those are about 3 people right now for me. So that F word, you say that F word, that's a long. My phone is blowing up. I think our office is on fire. But I got to call
somebody's listening to your podcast who thought they were a friend.
Shut up! Stop talking, Brent. You're gonna get censored. But no, what I'm saying is, and maybe we've stumbled upon it. Maybe it's having these people who are canceled working with prisoners who are out. Maybe the reentry program is getting the people who are finishing.
Why don't you reach out to Polo? You into redemption?
You know him.
I know.
Hey! You got your new uniform and champion of justice.
I did get that, but I'm talking to you now because you own. Your thought process in your show tonight has been about redemption.
Justice. First of all, Polo has not been tried and convicted yet, nor served his time. 2, I'm glad that champion of justice applies just in plays. That when we're talking about real life convict, someone's too good for him.
No, I just think that you ought to reach out. You're dining with Batman. So if you're dining with Batman, and obviously you see some value in that, and you're talking about it in a very favorable light, I think that Polo is another individual that you knew as well, and that he is falling from grace. And
but that gets into, like I said, and let's be honest, Miss Davis had a Mother's Day without her son. Be as real can be. Miss Davis just had a Mother's Day without her son. Now, everyone's innocent till proven guilty. Everyone deserves due process. That's one of the reasons I have not reached out to Polo, is because Miss Davis just had a Mother's Day without her son. Now, I understand, once again, a likable figure. I'm not going to deny I like Polo. I am furious at him that we're even in this situation. We can do a whole nother podcast about how I think he's flipping on everybody and their mother. But I wish.
What do you mean flipping on everybody and his mother? I don't know why you throw things out like that and you just expect.
Because I'm the only person. I'm the only person who knows what I'm talking about right now. I'm the only one. I said the other day that there was a state official that was going to get indicted that was in trouble, and Earl Banks magically gets indicted. I'm the only person that hears rumors, or I'm the only person that knows anything. I don't know. I guess they're not going to go after the businessmen that are vaguely identified in Chrysler's indictment. That Fed would never do that. I guess they're not going to.
Vaguely identified.
They vaguely identify them so they don't know you're coming.
How do you vaguely identify somebody?
Businessmen. That's how they referred in the indictment.
So that's vaguely identified.
The situation is, I've said this 1,000 times. The feds build a pyramid, and I literally got an email from a Fed about another case about one of my clients being one part of that pyramid to make sure he was available to testify during the month of August. And what I'm saying is, you build this pyramid, and you sit there, and the feds have one playbook. And I mean, I'm dumbfounded that I have to explain, not to you, but I'm dumbfounded. Once you get elected, you need to say, okay, what can I go over here? Can I touch this? Can I not touch this? Well, you can drink, Brent, but you can't smoke dope. Well, alcohol is more dangerous than weed. Don't care. One's illegal, one's not illegal. There it is. And what I'm saying is, the feds are going to forgive some things, ignore some. I was down here, and we don't have time for this, but the last time they were down here with the Dickie Scruggs, so when I hear there's a racial component, Dickie was as white as Ole Miss could be, I talked to a Fed and I said, where are you going to stop? He told me if we could stay in Mississippi for 50 years and never stop.
Wow.
And that was under Dickie Scruggs.
Wow.
Crew.
Could they stay in California for 50 years and never stop? Could they stay in
Yes,
Alabama?
I do believe, yes.
They could stay everywhere in America.
But the problem, or the difference in those situations is this. There's enough opposition naturally where people are reporting each other and keeping each other honest. I would disagree with you on California, New York, the Chicago areas, because they police themselves because they have two-party systems, or there's competitions for contracts and all that, and business and commerce. So everybody kind of checks each other when you have in a different environment, hence why you have better economies, better businesses in New York because of competition. When you have one party running everything and no real opposition from the other party, the checks and balances are going to be abused. Wow. We're running out of time. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I just think that, it's been an interesting show. I've learned a lot talking with you this evening, certainly, about decor. And, I know not to accuse my waitress if she's a little bit tardy and having a bad day. Not to say
you just learned that from me.
Certain things to her. I learned it emphatically from you this evening because I saw how it got you thrown out of the establishment.
I don't remember being thrown out. I remember leaving Champion of Justice. You would think a Champion of Justice would defend me.
No. I'm defending the waitress.
Oh my God.
Okay, but anyway, it's been a great show, Brent. I've enjoyed it.
I don't know if it's been a great show, but thank you for filling in as always. When is your show, sir?
Friday night.
Please tune in to see him. And maybe we just talk to Barstool about buying some of your great coffee.
I would talk to everybody in America about buying some great coffee. Go to earthblendcoffee.co and order the best coffee that money can buy, roasted right here in Jackson, Mississippi.
We'll be back next week. Please keep in mind to vote for Malcolm Johnson on August 8th for District